There is a question that lives quietly in the back of the minds of millions of people over 60. Not spoken out loud, not always admitted, but present. Is this normal, or is something wrong with my brain? When you walk into a room and forget why you came, when a familiar name disappears just as it reaches your lips, when you read the same paragraph 3 times and still can't hold it, these moments are unsettling, and they become more frequent with age. But the question is always the same. Is this just aging, or is it something I should be worried about? Today we are going to answer that question honestly, clearly, and without alarm. Because the truth is that there is a difference, a real, identifiable difference, between the normal slowing that comes with age and the early signs of something that deserves medical attention. Neurologists know these signs. Researchers have studied them for decades. And yet most of the people who most need this information have never heard it explained clearly. Until now. We are going to walk through 7 early warning signs of dementia, the ones most commonly missed, most frequently dismissed, and most often confused with normal aging. For each one, we will explain what it looks like, why it happens in the brain, and how to tell it apart from the ordinary forgetfulness that everyone experiences.
Let us begin.
The first and most well-known warning sign is memory loss, but not the kind most people think. This is the most important distinction in this entire video. Forgetting where you put your keys is not a warning sign of dementia. Forgetting that you own a car is. Normal age-related memory changes involve forgetting names temporarily and recalling them later. Misplacing something and retracing your steps to find it. Occasionally losing track of a word that comes back after a moment. These are frustrating but normal features of an aging brain. What is different in early dementia is the pattern, the frequency, and the impact on daily life. Forgetting recently learned information and never recovering it, not later that day, not after a reminder. Asking the same question multiple times in the same conversation because the answer genuinely does not stick. Increasingly relying on notes, phone reminders, or other people for things that were previously managed independently. The brain region most affected in early Alzheimer's is the hippocampus, the structure responsible for forming new memories. When this region begins to deteriorate, new information simply fails to consolidate. Old memories from decades past can remain vivid while something from this morning vanishes completely. This is why someone with early dementia can tell detailed stories from their youth, but cannot remember what they had for breakfast. If you are noticing this pattern, not occasional forgetting but consistent failure to retain new information, it deserves a conversation with a doctor. A cognitive assessment is a simple, non-invasive process that can detect early changes and provide clarity. Early detection is one of the most powerful tools available. The second sign is one that families often notice before the person themselves does, and it is frequently dismissed as simply getting older. Language and word-finding problems. Everyone occasionally searches for a word, a name that slips away, a term that is on the tip of the tongue. This is completely normal and happens to people of all ages. What is different in early dementia is both the frequency and the nature of the struggle. Someone in early cognitive decline may stop mid-sentence, genuinely unable to retrieve a common word they have used thousands of times. They may substitute unusual words or vague descriptions, the thing you use for cooking instead of pan. They may repeat the same stories or phrases within a single conversation, without any awareness that they have just said it. Writing is also affected. Emails or messages that become harder to compose. Unusual word choices in written communication. Sentences that trail off or lose coherence. The language centers of the brain, primarily Broca's area and Wernicke's area, are closely connected to the memory systems affected by Alzheimer's. As protein deposits called amyloid plaques begin to disrupt neural communication, the fluid retrieval of words that we take for granted becomes increasingly effortful. The words are still there, but the pathways to them are becoming blocked. Family members who notice these changes should document them, not to confront the person, but to share with a doctor. Keeping simple notes with dates and specific examples provides invaluable information for a medical assessment.
Let us begin.
The third sign is one of the most surprising and most overlooked on this list. Vision changes. This is not about needing stronger glasses. It is about changes in how the brain processes what the eyes see. In early dementia, particularly Alzheimer's disease, the brain's ability to interpret visual information begins to change. This can appear as difficulty judging distances, misjudging a step, reaching for something and missing it, or struggling to navigate stairs. It can also appear as difficulty distinguishing colors that are close in tone, reading text on similar colored backgrounds, or following movement. A 2025 study from the University of California identified that the aging brain's overall shape changes in ways that can compress the entorhinal cortex, the region critical for both memory and spatial navigation. These geometric changes in the brain correlate with cognitive decline and may increase vulnerability of this region to damage, potentially contributing to Alzheimer's disease. In practical terms, this may show up as someone repeatedly misjudging where objects are, having unexplained falls or near misses, or complaining that things look different without being able to explain exactly what has changed. This sign is important to raise with a doctor specifically because it is so rarely connected to brain health. Most people assume vision changes are about the eyes, but when the eyes are functioning normally and visual processing is still difficult, the issue lies in how the brain is interpreting the signals, and that is worth investigating. The fourth sign involves something deeply disorienting, not just geographically, but across time and routine. Getting lost in familiar places. We are not talking about being unsure of directions in a new city. We are talking about becoming confused on a walk you have taken hundreds of times, forgetting how to get to the doctor's office you have visited for years, losing track of what day it is, what season it is, or how much time has passed, standing in a familiar room and not recognizing where you are for a moment. The brain's navigation system, centered in the hippocampus and a connected region called the entorhinal cortex, is one of the earliest systems affected by Alzheimer's pathology. This is why getting lost in familiar environments is one of the earliest and most telling signs of cognitive change. This sign often appears first in conditions of stress, fatigue, or illness, which is why it can be easy to explain away. I was just tired. I wasn't paying attention. But when it becomes a pattern, when it happens with increasing frequency in circumstances that would not have caused confusion before, it deserves attention. Keeping a gentle, non-judgmental record of these episodes, with dates and circumstances, can help a doctor distinguish between isolated events and an emerging pattern.
The fifth sign is one that family members often experience most painfully because it can feel like losing someone before they are gone. Mood and personality changes. Early dementia frequently brings shifts in personality that are distinct from normal emotional variation. A person who was social and outgoing may become withdrawn, quiet, and reluctant to engage in activities they previously loved. A person who was calm and easygoing may become suspicious, anxious, or unusually irritable, sometimes directed at the very people closest to them. Depression and anxiety are significantly more common in people with early cognitive decline, partly as a genuine neurological effect of the brain changes occurring, and partly as a psychological response to the awareness that something feels different. Many people in early stages of dementia have a sense that something is wrong before they can articulate it, and that unspoken fear can emerge as irritability, withdrawal, or unusual behavior. What distinguishes these changes from normal emotional variation is their persistence and departure from the person's established character. It is not a bad day, it is a different person emerging gradually over months. These changes deserve to be discussed with a physician who can assess whether they are neurological, psychological, or both, and provide appropriate support.
The sixth sign is one of the most practically dangerous because it can have real consequences before anyone realizes what is driving it. Poor judgment and impaired decision-making. The frontal lobe, the region of the brain governing planning, reasoning, impulse control, and judgment, is affected in several forms of dementia, and its changes can appear in surprisingly specific ways. Financial judgment is often one of the first areas affected. Unusual purchases, falling for phone or online scams, making large financial decisions without apparent awareness of the risk, giving away money or possessions unexpectedly. These patterns can be devastating in practical terms and are one of the most reported early warning signs by family members who did not initially connect them to cognitive decline. Personal hygiene and safety judgment can also be affected. Someone who is always well-groomed beginning to neglect personal care. Poor decisions around medication, forgetting doses, doubling up, mixing medications incorrectly. Unsafe driving behaviors. Leaving appliances on. These are not signs of carelessness, they are signs of a brain that is no longer processing risk and consequence with its previous reliability.
The seventh and final sign is one that research has only recently begun to fully appreciate, and it connects sleep, brain health, and dementia risk in ways that are both sobering and actionable. Sleep disruption linked to brain decline. We have talked in previous videos about how sleep changes with age, but there is a specific sleep pattern change that is particularly connected to dementia risk, a condition called REM sleep behavior disorder. In normal REM sleep, the body is essentially paralyzed, preventing us from physically acting out our dreams. In REM sleep behavior disorder, this paralysis fails. People move, speak, shout, or even strike out physically while dreaming. Studies have found that this condition is present in a significant percentage of people who later develop Parkinson's disease and Lewy body dementia, sometimes appearing years or even decades before any cognitive symptoms. Beyond this specific disorder, general sleep disruption in older adults has been directly linked to the accumulation of amyloid proteins in the brain, the same proteins associated with Alzheimer's disease. The brain's glymphatic cleaning system, which flushes out these proteins, operates primarily during deep sleep. Chronic sleep disruption compromises this cleaning process, allowing the proteins to accumulate faster. If you or someone you love has developed unusual sleep behaviors, acting out dreams, significant and worsening insomnia, or dramatic changes in sleep patterns, this deserves a conversation with a neurologist. Not in alarm, but in the spirit of early awareness and early action.
7 signs, each one clear, each one real, and each one, when recognized early, an opportunity rather than simply a warning. Memory loss that disrupts daily life, language struggles, visual processing changes, getting lost in familiar places, mood and personality shifts, poor judgment, and sleep disruption connected to brain health. If you recognized any of these in yourself or in someone you love, please do not wait. A conversation with a doctor costs nothing but time, and what it can provide is clarity, direction, and in many cases, genuine relief. Because early awareness is not a sentence, it is a starting point. The brain is more adaptable than most people realize, and the steps taken early, lifestyle changes, medical support, cognitive engagement, make a difference that no intervention can replicate once too much time has passed. You deserve to know, and now you do. Thank you for watching. Share this video with someone who needs it, a family member, a friend, anyone whose brain health matters to you. Subscribe for a new video every day on living well, thinking clearly, and aging with strength.